Good afternoon. It's the continuation of Public Safety Day at the budget hearing. So we're going to have this afternoon's, we'll start off and have the fire department present the mayor's recommended budget for that department. And we can begin at your leisure. Fire Chief John Friedel, are you going to be doing the presentation? Whenever you're ready, you can begin.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chairman Quincy. Appreciate it. Committee members, Councilmember Yang. Thank you for the opportunity for us to come and present the 2017 recommended budget. I will go through the budget fairly quickly. If there's questions that the committee may have, I'll be more than happy to stop and answer any questions that you may have. Starting out at page 1 with the department organization, it's been fairly consistent throughout the years with the basically 5 divisions that we do have: an operation, administrative division, engineering, obviously finance, and a liaison to the fire inspection services by our fire marshal, which is at this time staffed with our administrative assistant chief. In summary of our 2017 budget, we have the same programs that we had in the past. We've got primarily 3 main programs. That's fire suppression, EMS and technical rescue, training and recruitment, and community risk reduction, education and outreach. Those are pretty much the same consistent programs we've had for the last 3 years. In 2016, we had a budget of approximately $62 million. In 2017 recommended budget, there's been a slight increase of about 4% to roughly $65 million over the previous year. We do have a couple of change items that I review going forward, in totaling about $400,000 in one-time money and $200,000 in ongoing, and $200,000 in one-time funding. Quickly going through our core programs, obviously fire suppression, EMS, and technical rescue is primarily the core of what we presently perform, and that includes fire response, EMS response, hazardous materials response, technical rescue. They are also assist with prevention education, community outreach. Also, firefighters do assist with that responsibility. It makes up primarily the majority of our budget at this point, approximately $46 million. In terms of goals and values of each of our programs, as you notice as I go through this program, we feel that all of our goals, the entire department, 3 programs that we have, meet all the goals and values of the city. I think that if we look deep enough in what we do and the services we provide, I think we align ourselves very well with both the goals and the values of the city. In the fire suppression chart that we have, in the next slide, you can see it's a standard that we use to measure our ability to effectively respond. It's a national standard that has been proven to be, quite frankly, very difficult to achieve and to meet at a consistent level. At the top of that chart, it shows where firefighters or fire crews arrive in 5 minutes or less. At the present time, we're at about 80% of the time. I think that is, given the difficulty that standard is to meet, I think that is very, very effective. What challenges us to meet that 90% standard line is the number of runs and the demand for service that we are starting to see, especially in our department. Since in the last 4 years, our runs have gone up, at least in our events, have gone up approximately 20%. And what that leads to other crews having to fill in for crews or substitute on runs, which makes it challenging. It creates a longer response time, a longer travel distance, which is going to impact that. On the bottom of that chart, the one that we are certainly most proud of, is the 14 firefighters on scene in 9 minutes and 20 seconds over 90% of the time. We are almost 4% over the top of that standard, which is, for a department of the city, the first class, I think is excellent. I think it's an excellent benchmark that the crews are getting out of the stations quickly. They're responding quickly. They're getting 14 firefighters on scene of structure fires or those types of events within 9 minutes. And that is very, very critical, especially when it comes to fire suppression activities.
Chief, obviously this is through 15 data. 16 hasn't completed, but ballparking as we're in the middle of October, how are we doing?
In terms of 2016, our data is pretty much the same. It hasn't changed much. We're going to be in the 5 minutes or less. We're going to maintain that 80% mark, give or take that 79, 80%. And same with the 14 minutes or less. We are able to maintain and sustain that 94 percentile. And the map that you see on the following page sort of outlines the green areas are obviously where we're meeting those standards very easily. That is, and even on that map, that is sort of the core demand areas of the majority of our service demand areas. So we are able to meet the demands of the areas or geographic areas of the city that demand our services, and we've maintained that, and we're actually been able to change the color of that map over the last 4 or 5 years since I've been the fire chief. We've reduced the number of red areas, turned a lot of the brown or golden areas to green, and some areas to dark green. So which gets us up in the 100 percentile in terms of 5 minutes or less. So I think that we've done an effective job. I feel that our fire stations are located in the right locations. I believe we have the right number of fire stations at this point to meet our demand for service now and in the future. The fire suppression, EMS, and service and technical rescue slide in terms of total emergency calls by type. As you can see, we had, in 2015, we've had roughly 41,000 calls for service. In 2016, I would expect that we are going to be in the area of 42 to 43,000 runs, calls for service. And since 2011, we've probably increased by 20%. That is one thing that is challenging for us moving forward. We're seeing probably a 4 or 5% or more increase in responses annually. EMS continues to be the vast majority of those types of events. However, we still have technical rescue and hazardous materials and all those other concerns that we still have to be able to meet those demands for service also in terms of staffing. We are continuing to look at types of response models that we may change in the future to see if we can assist with taking the pressure off some of the demands for that service that we provide. But our service demand is certainly going up dramatically every year. Training and recruitment. That's our second program that really like to talk about this program. This is obviously where we spend a lot of time training and developing our future employees and present employees. Certainly we want to try to develop a high-performing workforce, a very diverse workforce, and that is also a challenging when it comes into some of the training in terms of trying to find funding and other things. It is not cheap to train and develop our firefighters. Included in that program is also and talks about succession planning and moving forward and creating opportunities. Our EMS Pathways programs, our Explorer program, which are near and dear to our heart. And if you look at the training recruitment as far as the dollars, and that it probably is a very small portion of our total budget, but quite frankly, I think this is one of the programs that could potentially have the most impact in the community and to the community. Our EMT Pathway program, not only our high school programs, but our EMS Academy that we just recently graduated is, I think, proof that I think if we create opportunity, we can have a lot of success with the internal and external collaboration that we've had in cooperation, especially with our EMS Academy. And I would just like to take a couple minutes to talk about the EMS Academy that we just recently graduated. We started with 26 students. We graduated 23 that completed the course. Of those 23, 3 are presently have received paramedic scholarships. They're in paramedic training as we speak. 3 are in our right now our present fire training academy at the present time. We have got at least 2 or 3 of those members who are competing for a position of dispatch with Hennepin County EMS. And 100% of the class in some way, shape, or form have been offered some sort of potential job or career in the EMS field. So I think in a short time, in a matter of months, and kudos to the staff of the fire department, we were given some backing put together a collaborative effort between Hennepin County EMS, the Minneapolis Foundation, the City of Minneapolis, the Mayor's Office, my staff, and our department. And within a matter of 5 months, we've gone from recruitment, focused recruitment of individuals, creating an opportunity, graduating those groups, graduating those crews, those people, and then creating an opportunity that they can have and potentially start careers in a matter of months. I think it's something that's something we're proud of. We just kicked off the Explorer program last night in the north side, where we're going to have kids who are ages 14 to 21 who want to be an Explorer Minneapolis Fire Department. They're going to basically have maybe 2 meetings a month where they're going to be able to come and enjoy a firefighting experience on Wednesdays and Saturdays. And for the youth of this city, maybe to consider a career. Ultimately, it'd be perfect if we could take someone from the Explorer program and the youth, get them into our high school programs, either in North or Roosevelt, have a graduate of that, enter the EMS Academy, graduate from that, and then move on to a career either in EMS with Hennepin County and or in the fire service and the fire department. I think that would be the ultimate, and I believe that we're going to be able to achieve that. And also training and recruitment, that certainly when we talk about the training and recruitment and retention, it has to talk about our retirement and our workforce plan that we've had. And we continue to follow, monitor, and utilize. This was a plan that I know we put together approximately 4 years ago. It has changed a little bit over the 4 years, but we made some assumptions a few years ago. We've been following that plan. It was questioned a little bit in terms of accuracy, but what we found, this plan is right on course. If you look at the upper half of that screen, in 2021, we have the potential to lose over 38% of our workforce. And in 2026, which is only 10 years away, we are going to potentially lose 62% of our workforce will be gone. To give you an example of how volatile it is, in the last few weeks up to the first of the year, we are probably going to lose 8 to 9 employees. I've already told us they're going to be retiring by January 1st. I've got a class of about 15 cadets going through right now. Before that cadet class graduates, we are already going to 60% of those are already going to be eaten up through retirements. So we make some assumptions. We probably have to improve or enhance our aggressiveness in terms of class size a little bit and or hire sooner. But we're going to continue to follow this trend. Is hiring. We are going to attrit down below our authorized strength level, then we'll hire back up, and we'll probably attrit back down. But it allows us that flexibility to be able to meet the demands for our service, try to meet the needs that we're going to have with the silver tsunami that so many people talk about. It is very volatile, and I've said in the past, people aren't. I certainly can't force people off the job, nor would I, and I don't expect them to tell me when they plan on retiring. They can retire today. They can walk in today and say, I'm retiring, today's the day, and that could happen. It's hard to assume how many I may lose in the future, but we're going to continue down this path. I think it's an effective plan. I think it's proven out. We look back in the plan to see how closely we developed it, and it has been right on track when we developed it 4 years ago. Community risk reduction outreach, that's our last program. Again, this is one of those areas in our department that is a staff of one. And Captain Cassie Anderson does a wonderful job with that, with the assistance of our firefighters in the stations. She spends a lot of time in the community, focusing on school-age children and intervention of that, developing a community emergency response team, folks, which is now a small army of over 300 volunteers to assist if the community were ever need to. We also been working with smoke detector programs with not only the Red Cross in different communities within the city, but the Mille Lacs Band, for example, came down, and we were working in the community, assisting them in installing and giving away smoke detectors. So it's focused on some of the higher need populations. There again, it's not a large amount of money in our overall budget, but as you see, if you look at the 2015 numbers, we have not compiled the numbers for 2016 as of yet because the school year just started. But in 2015, Cassie visited, and we had touched base over 8,000 students, 6,000 terms of adult family outreach and in the business outreach, over 2,000 folks in businesses that we talk to about different areas of fire safety, fire education, and fire prevention. So it's an effective tool. One thing that we have noticed I know that in our smoke detector programs, a lot of members or folks at community like to have detectors, and then they will apply for a detector or say they want one included. Then we get to the residents to install, and they may not answer the door. So we don't know how many of those are actual rental folks, and see somebody in a uniform, and we feel that there may be some other punitive issues in terms of violation that may or may not be found. And so it's a program that we continue to stress. I think it's very important that we continue to install these smoke detectors, reach out to community, educate as many as we can, because it's very, very important to help one of those, to change that outcome and bend that cost curve overall cost of the service that we have to deliver.
Chief, at what level, if it's possible or not, is this kind of outreach interacting with our regulatory services department as they're going through inspections? May run across a single-family home that maybe in some extra attention is needed. Do they call the police department, or do they just interact with them on themselves? Is there a way for that outreach team to reach that person?
Yeah, what we've done since the enforcement of the fire code has been transferred over to regulatory services, we still have each of our fire captains, which we have 103 right now. They're all required to do 35 or 36 building inspections annually, or familiarizations, we call them.
Yeah.
In other words, they go into buildings and in terms of familiarize themselves, just in case they had an incident there. But during that familiarization, if they notice or see something that could be a violation, we automatically email over to FIS, and then send an inspector out to inspect. Now, the same token, if we're on an EMS event or a fire-related run and our crews notice something that needs to be addressed, they do the same thing. They notify fire inspection services and or potentially even housing to go out and take a look at a potential violation.
Okay.
So we do try to maintain that connectivity to some of our partners on the enterprise. A little bit about the change items we have. Change item that is going to be ongoing is in the mayor's recommended budget was $400,000 in ongoing fund to fund 5 additional FTEs in our fire service. That is in our fire department. That is something that it's a very much of a welcome addition. Anytime that we can add numbers to our authorized strength, we'll go from 406 to 411 authorized firefighters. There will be a slight reduction in our overtime expenses within that budget. The second item is $200,000 in one-time money that will be used for the recruitment and retention. That's putting recruitment and retention. That will be putting money towards a new civil service exam, which will be delivered in 2017, which is going to be very, very important. So overall, we have a change increase of $400,000 and $200,000 in one-time money to pay for a new civil service list to be established in 2017. In our CARS program, we have approximately $380,000 in total requests. The $110,000 for personal protective equipment, that is going to be an ongoing, probably an amount annually requested by the department for personal protective equipment. One standard that has been changed, that after 10 years, our personal protective equipment that our firefighters now presently wear have to be discarded or taken out of service. So that is something that's going to be annually probably requested of CARS. One special item we have this year is a $270,000 request for mobile data computers. Those are the computers that are in each of our rigs. We've had those mobile data computers for a number of years. In 2015, we spent money on those computers, adding some memory to try to, we're having a lot of them starting to break down and they're starting to fail. So we added some memory to try to increase their performance to gain another year of life out of them, which we've done. In 2017, we're going to have to make a decision on what to replace those mobile data terminals with. And lastly, in the budget, I just wanted to briefly just touch on some of the outside funding that we took advantage of in 2016. And this is, we just took it. I felt it was important for us to take a look at different opportunities that are potentially out there for the department to help us achieving some of the many goals that we have and needs that we have. But just to touch on a couple of them, if you look at the $664,000 from the Assistance Firefighter Regional Grant Program, that was a regional grant that we partnered with St. Paul Fire to wrote the grant together. We received over $1 million grant, and that is for the purchase and installation of commercial washers and dryers in each of our fire stations. We have what's starting to show itself in the fire service is the cancer is starting to become a very strong issue, and an issue that's affecting a lot of people in the fire service themselves. So by buying these washers and dryers, we can, after fire events, whether they've been involved in or been exposed to environments with carcinogenic type material in them, they can take the turnout gear back to stations, wash and dry them, and then and hopefully try to minimize the impact that some of these chemicals are having on our firefighters over the course of time. So that's why both Minneapolis and St. Paul just completed their installation. We're going to go along with our installation. We will also include that was a purchase of some turnout gear and training for our firefighters. We got the Minnesota Board of Fire Training and Education. That's an ongoing fund that we utilize every year to assist to offset the cost and training of our firefighters. It's a very broad program which allows us to train our firefighters, and some of those costs that are associated with that training can be reimbursed through this program, and we've taken advantage of that time and time again. We've also continued our training and preparation through rail safety and the different rail programs that are available through the same fund that allows us to basically train for free. You look down at the $10,228 that we were reimbursed for in our Narcan program. About 15 or 16 months ago, I asked the question whether we should respond to those type of overdoses. And at the time, we had about 156 responses, if I remember right, to overdoses. And I thought, you know what, maybe it's worth looking at carrying Narcan and having the ability to treat patients if we needed to. So we started that program, 16 months ago. And now since then, things have really changed dramatically with the opioid epidemic that we're facing in this country. And today, we put it in service in late spring, early summer of this year. We've had 111 saves in the city. And that is something that, I kind of question. I didn't want to become an enabler. I don't want people to think, oh, if we do this, fire department will come, let's take a chance, will save us. Yeah. It's one of those hard things. But I think when you look at the enormity of the problem, it is something that is very concerning, and it's very challenging for us now to sustain this. And this money that was made available for first responders. We look for that funding. We now have enough Narcan to probably cover the remainder of this year and probably through next year in terms of supplies. Obviously, since Narcan was introduced and found to be a drug that's been administered when somebody overdoses, obviously every dose now is tripled in price. With all of that comes the tripling in price, which causes more issues for us. But we're going to continue. I think it's important. We're going to continue to look for these dollars. I believe that there's going to be more funding available to help us sustain that program. I think it's important. I think it's important that we do that. Partnering obviously with Hennepin County doing the same type of program. So it's something that's very, very challenging. And lastly, again, there's just a lot of different areas and a lot of folks that we've partnered with and collaborated with through different types of partnerships. An example, again, of CenterPoint Energy giving us $2,500, where we just introduced our safety net program at the EOTF yesterday. We had a news conference, and It's a program where if we have adults or vulnerable adults or children with cognitive issues, autism, or maybe someone who um, has memory loss and may have a tendency to wander, we now have the ability to, if put into the system, have the ability to go out and help and assist locating those vulnerable folks, which I think is something that was um, something that we needed to do on the east side of the river in the St. Paul area. They've done it for a number of years. I think that was something that we needed to do. And kudos to my staff again for working very hard and putting this program together. I think it's an addition to the service that we provide that I believe is very can be very rewarding.
Yeah, thanks for bringing all those up. It was a great way to see how outside resources are making an impact on not only the budget, but on the lives and safety of our residents. I was particularly drawn to I've looked at those reports over the last couple of years on, the weekly reports that we get from you. I can't say how many times I've seen Narcan administered, life saved, and that makes a big difference. That's really amazing. So I wanted to point that out. I had a question about the washers, dryers, believe it or not. I'm interested in that. How are they in every station, or are they going to be, or what's the plan for the extent of those installations?
Chairman Quincy, the washer and dryers that we're going to, they are commercial grade washer and dryer to a point where the grant was over $1 million, and we quite frankly have to add, in some cases, a foot of concrete to the floor of the fire station to basically bolt the dryer down so it doesn't vibrate out of the station. I mean, it's amazing what they have to do, but they are commercial grade washer and dryer, obviously to be utilized, and they'll be in every one of our fire stations. We already have one at our fire stores, and we have one at the EOTF, so each of the stations will be, and we'll start working on having 2 sets of turnout gear for each of our firefighters. That's a challenge that we're trying to meet, and it's very challenging to do that, but that's also part of this grant.
But that's not part of any CARS request.
Pardon me?
The extra turnout gear per firefighter is not part of a CARS request at this point.
There is, and we have turnout gear that we've annually requested, because we're going to have to we're probably going to have to buy 100 sets of turnout gear annually to keep up with the standard, to meet the standard of taking service turnout gear out of service at the same time. So it's very challenging. Ideally, I'd like to see all of our firefighters have 2 sets of gear, so when they come back from a fire or been involved with an incident where they've been in an environment that needs to be washed, they can wash their turnout gear, take their second set, put it on their rig. When that's done, they can keep rotating. Right now, we'll have to take some crews. We'll have to go out of service for a short time as they're doing it.
Good. Thank you. Anything else on the formal? I just wanted to make sure you were finished with your presentation. Councilmember Yang.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Chief, a little lighthearted here, okay? So I hope you don't take any offense to it. I remember when I started serving, and one of the things you had put up there as, a goal of yours is to, get our FTEs to, let's say, 1 above St. Paul. I mean, where are we on that?
I'll have to say, Chairman Quincy and Councilmember Yang, a couple weeks ago, I think I achieved my goal. Unfortunately, I think he hired a class. I believe we were 1 above, or 1 or 2 maybe above the St. Paul at the time. But I think Chief Butler is getting ready to hire a class. So it's going to go back and forth. But you know what? We're where we need to be, and we have a great relationship with those folks, and we have a great partnership, so that we're going to continue to strive. And I would like to be able to sustain that goal and put us in a position where I can honestly say that I'm at least 1 bigger than St. Paul Fire Department.
Okay, and Chief, our number right now is about 418, right?
Pardon me?
Our number for staffing for our fire department is 418. Is that correct? Or?
We're right about 418. We're counting the present class that we have on board. That's correct.
Okay. I just wanted to show you, I have the benefit of the internet right here in front of me, and I'm looking at St. Paul's budget right now, and I look at their numbers, and I have to tell you, their number is actually total FTEs within their department, and I don't know how they're doing their numbers, but it's actually 483. So, I mean, you're about 70 down. Kidding. I'm kidding. I mean, the numbers are here, but I mean,
It's in a budget. They'll never hit it.
I got it. Yeah, I would. Chief Butler and I, we talk about that a lot.
Okay.
If I had 40 paramedics, I might be able to make that meet, but we don't. We are busier, I can say that. We are busier.
And Mr. Chair, I just wanted to say, I mean, Chief, I really appreciate the work that your department does. I've seen many fires up in Ward 5, and just the level of service and just dedication of your firefighters has been fantastic up where I live. And I know that other council members have seen just the great work of the fire department, and so I appreciate it. I just wanted to lightheartedly poke at you just with regards to that, just because I know that it's been one of your goals, and we'll keep on working.
Councilmember Yang, I'll adjust my workforce plan.
Good. Not seeing any other questions, but I do want to acknowledge we've, of course, been joined by Council Members Gordon, Council Member Yang, Council Member Palmisano, Bender, and Council Member Johnson. As I said earlier today, Council Member Goodman is unable to attend today as she was at a funeral and attending a funeral, and then Council Member Glidden had to represent the city at the League of Minnesota Cities. So just wanted to pass that out. Thank you again very much for you and the whole team for all the work you've been doing, and the great presentation on today's numbers shows a department well managed and fiscally responsible, as well as effective. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. That concludes Public Safety Day in the budget hearing world. And our next budget subcommittee will be meeting on October 28th. 9:30 to noon will be a variety of departments from the city coordinator's office, and then we'll be finishing up those departments beginning at 1:30 to 4 on the 28th. So that'll be a long day. So with nothing further, we're adjourned. Thank you.